friends, welcome to Techno Learning, and if you are into mobile application development, then you must subscribe our channel and also don't forget to press that bell icon too. So in this video we are going to develop a translator app in Android Studio with Java support. So first of all, you have to open the Android Studio, and on my screen you can see that Android Studio is loading. And after the loading you will able to see this screen in which you have to click on the first option, that is start a new Android Studio project. So click on it. After that you have to select the empty activity from here and then press the next button. Also, the empty activity is the default activity. Okay, so here you have to give the name for your app. So here I am giving the name as Translator. Okay, the name is complete and the language is Java. Please make sure that, and let me click on this finish. After that the project will be loaded into the Android Studio, and it's a big software so it takes a little time. And here you can see that Gradle building is completed. So let me first go to manifest, and here I have to add a permission for the internet. So I'll use uses permission and then I will select the internet. Okay, then close it. Perfect. After that I again come back to this main activity, but I have to go to Gradle scripts, in which I'll select the build Gradle module app, and here you can see that we have to add few dependencies. So we will go to this browser and open Google and search for this Android X media dependency. After that click on the first result, that is developer.android.com's. It's an official site. So yeah, it is loading. Please wait. I'm sorry for the slow internet connection, but don't you worry about that. Yeah, here you have to copy this dependency from here. So I just press Ctrl C. After that I came back to Android Studio and paste it here. And again we will go to the browser and come back to the Google, and here I have to search for the another dependency, that is Google Material Design dependency for Android X, and click on the first result, material.io website name, and then it is loading. After that you will able to see that dependency and just copy it. So I press Ctrl C for copying it, and coming back to the Android Studio, here I have to paste it. Here you can see that there's a version we have to select. So click on this yellow bulb and change the version to 1.10. After that come back to the browser again and search for the another dependency, that is for recycler view for Android X. Yeah, so search for it. After that click on the first result, and here you have to see two dependencies, but you have to copy the first one. I've copied it and I came back to Android Studio and paste it here. Perfect. After that I'll go back to the Google again in the search of our next dependency, and it is Android X lifecycle. Okay, and here we go for the first result, and let me check it out which dependency it is. Oh, there are various dependencies. Let me find out which one I have to tick. So yeah, I'm a little confused here, but don't you worry, I'll add the perfect dependency. Let me check out. It's for reactive streams. Okay, I came back to the Google again, and let me write different thing like extensions. Yeah, I will click on it. Oh, it's the same result. Don't worry, just go to the second result and check it out what's there. Okay, here you can see that there are dependencies, two dependencies, and one is depreciated, I think. Yeah, so I'll try to copy the second one. I copied it. After that, I have to go to Android Studio Pack and paste it here. Here I have to change its version name, also the subpart, that is Android X lifecycle extensions, and the version is 2.2.0. After that, there will be another dependency, and it is Guava Google dependency. You have to search it out on Google. After that, open this GitHub repo, and then you have to copy this implementation, the third part, that is for Android, and you have copied it. After that, remove this parenthesis. Perfect. So the next dependency is also needed, so we will go to the browser again, came back to Google, and here I have to search for the Apache Common Collection Android dependency. Yeah, after that I will able to see that on the result. Yes, so open the second result firstly. Let's go for the official website first. Okay, there are two websites, it's common-apache.org and mavenrepository.com. So I'd go to this common, the first one. Here you can see that there's so much confusion here, so let me come back and click on this Stack Overflow result, the first one. Okay, so let me scroll it, and yeah, here I have got it, and I just copied it and come back to the Android Studio and paste it here. So most of the dependencies are added, but also the main repository for the MLKit translator kind of dependency is left out. So let me search out, that is Google MLKit Translate dependency for Android. Click on the first results, it's from the official Google developers, and you have to copy this. Press Ctrl C. Okay, yeah, it is copied. After that, you have to come back to the Android Studio. So here you can see that all the dependencies are added. Let me click on the sync now, so that these dependencies and the packages will be downloaded to the Android Studio library. So I have clicked on it, and here I have to add Java 1.8 support. So I will add it just below the build types. Also take care of these curly braces. So let me add the compile options here. Yeah, first one is source compatibility. Yeah, spelling is correct. After that I'll add 1.8, and the second one is target compatibility, and it is also gonna be same, that is 1.8. So all the options for this build Gradle, all the features are added like dependencies and the compile options. Okay, it is indexing after clicking on that sync now. So here you have to wait a little for the indexing. Okay, so now let me go to the XML files present in the resources folder, and the subfolder is layout, and it is our main activity XML. I have to edit this. So first of all, let me remove the unneeded things from here. First of all, correct it, just press the enter here. After that, I have to change this constraint layout. Before changing it, let me remove this. Okay, so now you have to change the constraint layout and you will change it to frame layout. Also, remove this text view and just delete this. After that, add that close slash here. Okay, there are no errors, but you have to add few more things like ID. So let me add the ID first. What it will be like container, yeah. So this frame layout is completed and error free. And now let me go to the projects again, and here I have to make a fragment. So right click on it, right click on this package name or the Java, and go to the fragments and click on this blank fragment. Click on it. After that, you have to give the name for your blank fragment, and here I will be giving the name for this fragment as Translate fragment. T should be capital. Translate fragment. Perfect. The source language is Java. Click on finish. Great. It is generating sources, and here the fragment is. You can see that. So we will go to its corresponding XML file for the design purpose, and let me edit this file. So here you can see that the comments are added and the text view, and we have to change this frame layout to constraint layout. Okay, it is changed. After that, you have to add ID for this constraint layout as main, and now you have to delete this text view and the comment part, and here you have to add fewer views like buttons and text views and text input layout. So let me first add the text input layout. Okay, here you can see that we have to add properties for the text input layout, and I'm giving them as width as match parent height as 100 dp. Also the ID for this text input layout is given as text input layout, and the T is small. After that, you have to add style for this text input layout, and I will use the style feature of the inbuilt Android Studio library, and in which we'll go to the widgets and then material components. After that, choose the design for this text input layout and outlined box. Perfect. The style is added. You can see that no, these errors are not for this. The style is correct. So okay, after that you have to add margin. Margin from the start is given as 8 dp, and then the margin from the top is also given as 8 dp. Now the margin from the end, that is also same, and the margin from the bottom, oh, it's also same. So the margins are added. Now you have to add the constraint things. These constraint properties are the part of that main constraint layout that you have to use to fit your view into constraint layout in your favorable position. So let me use here the constraint bottom to top of, and let me add the ID source lang selector. Okay, I will add this view having the ID source lang selector later. Don't you worry about it. If you are facing the error, just type it as I'm typing. After that, you have to give another property, that is input type, and the input type will be text multi-line. So yeah, it is added, and for now the text input layout will contain another constraint properties, and these properties are very crucial as all the design depends on that. And here constraint end to end off. After that, you have to add constraint start to start off, and it is also selected as parent. After that, the constraint top to top off, it is also parent. So three or four properties for constraint layout is completed. This text input layout is completed, and for this error, don't you worry, I will make the widget for source lang selector. And after that, you have to add another property or another widget, and this widget is gonna be the text input, not layout, it is different from it. It is text input added text. It is the box in which you have to type for translation input, and you have to give the ID for this. It is the source text that will be converted to the translated language. Okay, let me add the gravity, and the hint for this added text is also added as source text, and it is completed. And yeah, you have to move it within the text input layout, so just paste the closing part of text input layout below this text input added. And after that, you have to add a spinner. For the spinner, you have to add these properties. The properties like width and height as 0dp and wrap content, also the ID source lang selector, and we have used this ID in the previous widgets. And now I'm adding the margins for it, and also that the margin I'm taking as 8dp right now. So the margin from the start top and bottom is 8dp, and text is aligned to the center part of the screen. After that, you have to use the constraint properties, because the main layout view is constraint layout, and for that you have to use these properties. And I'm adding the constraint bottom to the top of, it is button sync source. Also, this is not yet made the widget, but we'll made it out, don't you worry about it. After that, I have to add another property, that is constraint and to the start of is button switch lang. Okay, remove this plus sign. Let me check it out. Yeah, for the previous one you have to add that plus sign. Don't remove the plus sign over here, you just have to remove it from the below part. Yeah, you are seeing error because I have not implemented these widgets yet, but I will implement it later. After that, you have to add constraint start to the start of, and it is parent. And then you have to add constraint top to bottom of, and it will also take the ID, but here you have to remain this plus sign for the ID. Okay, so the spinner part is completed. Let me add the material buttons here. Okay, what will be the properties like width and height? It is wrap content and wrap content. Also, the very important property, that is ID, is also given to this material button as button switch length. So you can see that in the above spinner the error has been removed for button switch length constraint and to the start of. Okay, now I'm implementing the style part for this. It is also showing error because I have not made its custom style in the style file. I'll make it out, don't you worry. Just do it as I'm doing. After that you have to add margins, and as you already know that I'm taking the margin as 8 dp. Let me add empty text, and here you have to give the icon. For icon you have to select vector set from right clicking on that drawable folder. After that, clicking on that vector sets and click on this clip art, and here you have to search for compare. Yeah, click on OK, just copy it and next finish. It is added, so now you can use it here. It is in the drawable folder, so I will just type drawable and paste that thing. Yeah, so it is added. Let me just yeah. After that you have to add the constraint properties, as the constraint properties are really crucial for this part too, as all the screen design part depend on the main layout, and the main layout is the constraint layout itself. After that you have to add another constraint property, that is constraint start to the end of, and I'll give the ID as source slang selector. So yeah, and here you have to add another property. I think there are 4 properties for the constraint layout which are crucial for designing purpose. Yeah, it is added and it is closed. So our material button is completed right now, and for now let me add fun spinner again, and the width is 0 dp. Also the height is wrap content, and let me add ID for this spinner as target length selector, and here you can see that I'm adding the margin as 8 dp, but there may be change in the margin, and what it will be like. Now it is same 8 dp. Let me change it somewhere else so that there will be some change in the margin property. Okay, let me add the text alignment as the center, and then the constraint properties. As you already know that there are 4 constraint properties which are crucial for every view which is contained in that main constraint layout. You have to give these properties for the designing purpose, and the designing is really good with using these properties. And as I'm coding in this left part, you can see that in the right part it is implementing on the screen of phone. You are seeing in the right part of your phone screen, and here I have to give the constraint property for constraint start to end of. I have already added, but it is end to end of, and it is start to end of. Yeah, and here you have to give the property from the ID as button switch length. So the next property for the constraint layout, and what it will be top to top of and you have to give the ID for this also, and here I'm not using the plus sign. Yeah, that is source line selector. Okay, so this spinner is also completed. After this spinner, you have to add a toggle button for toggling the language support. Like you have to convert from English to Hindi, or English to Urdu, or English to French, Spanish, and whichever language you want, Spanish to English, Spanish to Chinese, Russian to English. All you can do this with this translator. It is all in one. Okay, let me add properties for this toggle button. Also, don't forget to add the IDs, because IDs are really crucial, and the margin. But now you can see that I have changed the margin from 8 to 16 dp, and also the width is 126 for this toggle button, and I'll give the text off for this toggle button as download model, and text on for delete model. Like if you have already clicked on it, then it will show the text on, and if you don't clicked on that toggle button, then it will show the first one, that is text off download model. And here you have to give the constraint properties for this toggle button too. So the first property is constraint bottom to top off, and ID is given as downloaded models. It is showing error because I have not implemented this widget right now, but I will be doing it later. And let me add the layout constraint end to end off from this ID source line selector, and then the third property for this constraint. Yeah, it is constraint to start to the start of, and it is also source line selector. And now you have to add the last one. I think it is the last constraint property, that is top to the bottom of, and the ID is also given as source line selector, and it is completed. Yes, the toggle button is completed. After that, you have to add another widget, but another widget is same. So let me copy this toggle button, the full part, copy it and just paste it here. Okay, now you have to make few modifications, like you have to change the ID for the second toggle button. And what will be the ID? ID is button sync target. Yeah, it is changed. After that, you have to make change in the constraint properties also. So let me firstly change the margin and make it 8. Okay, and the width is 127, and let me change the constraint properties. Only you have to change in the ID slash part. So first change is this button sync sources, and the second change, okay, it is bottom to bottom off. Okay, there's something messed up, don't you worry. Okay, it is now perfect. And then it is end to end off, and the ID is source line 2, but we have to change it to the target line selector. And after that, you have to also change the third one from source to target, and the last one is top to top off. Yes, and here you have to change this source length selector to button sync source. Okay, now you will able to see the right part of your screen that the code has been implemented yet, but also there are few things left out. I think the 2 text views. So let me add the first text view here with the properties width and height as match parent and wrap content respectively. After that, I've given the ID as downloaded models, and let me add the margin from the start, top, end, and the last one is margin from the bottom. And the property for these margin, the value is same, it is 8 dp, After that, I will add the default text here like downloaded model. It will show that which model you have downloaded for the translation, like you have downloaded the model for English to Hindi, or Hindi to English, or Spanish to Chinese. So for that you have to give this text view. After that you have to add the constraint properties. And what are the constraint properties? The first one is constraint bottom to top of, and then the next one is constraint and to end of, it is parent. And the third one we are adding the start to the start of is also parent. Oh, the battery is low, don't you worry, I'll charge it. After that, the last property is constraint top to top of to bottom of. Okay, and the id is button sync source. Okay, everything is good, and the text view is completed. So let me copy this, as I have to add the similar text view. I have copied it by pressing Ctrl C, then paste it here, and make few changes, like you have to change the id. What will be the id? Like text, target text. And also you have seen in the previous widget there was an error for this id, but as you have implemented there are no errors. And also change the layout height to the 0 dp, and the text, the crucial one, is translated text. Okay, and then you have to add the gravity for this as top. So now the constraint properties, for the sake of that main constraint layout, the first one is bottom to top of to bottom of, and give it as parent. Okay, after that this is same, but you have to change in the bottom, top to bottom of constraint property, like downloaded models. So now just remove this extra space. All things are completed, but there is still an error, and it is because of that style part which I have not implemented. So I'll go to that and implement it, don't you worry about it. I'm just scrolling it. If you have messed up somewhere else, then please correct this, don't worry about this style part. So first let me go to the project and go to resources, and in the values you will able to see styles. Let me implement that style that was causing that error, and here I have to write the name for that style, and it is, add the style name as icon only button. Also you have to give the parent, and the parent is taken from the widget dot material components and dot, and then button dot outline button. Yes, now you have to close it, and within this style you have to give few more properties, like items. And what the item containing? It is first icon padding, and the padding is taken as 0 dp, and in the next item it is icon gravity, and what it will contain as a text start. Okay, so this style part is finished. Yet now go to projects and come back to the Fragment Translate, and you will able to see that there are no errors, it is error free. Now you can see that the error has been removed as you have implemented that style. And now I'm scrolling again, so that if you have messed up anywhere else in the code, then just pause this video and correct that error, because this is really important, correcting errors, so that the app will run perfectly. Okay, perfect, everything is good right now, but there is a missing of this icon. Don't you worry, it will appear on rebuilding of the project, or will do add the background for it. Okay, create another value resources by clicking right clicking on that values folder, and then give the name as dimensions as DIMENS. Also, now you have to click on OK. So yeah, it is created, the diamonds.xml, and within this resources you have to add an attribute called diamond name, and then just name it as text margin and give the value as 16 dp. Okay, it is completed right now. So we'll move to the main activity XML. Yeah, it is also looking good. And now I have to move to the Java part of our app, but before going that we have to enable multi-dex kind of thing. So let me search on Google about this multi-dex Android. Okay, and just click on the first result. After that you have to copy this Android X dependency, and remember the version is 2.0.1. you have to add it manually. I'll just paste it here. Here you can see that there are version error, but we'll add it customizedly. Don't you worry about it. I'll just check out the version again. Yeah, it is 2.0.1. Go to the Android Studio again and just remove this part after the dollar sign and add the 2.0.1. Perfect. Now you have to enable the multi-dex too. And how to enable it? In this default configuration part, you have to add it here as multi-dex. D is capital, enabled E is capital, and then just make it true. Perfect. Then just click on sync. Now it is syncing, the Gradle building is going on, so it is completed. Now let me check out, something is messy here. Okay, so this icon is not visible. Let me add a different property for the background, but you can go with this app icon too, it will work too. But for showing you that how it will look, I'm using the background, or I will be changing it to the previous one. So here you can see that it is appeared. Okay, I think it is good. Now let me go to the main activity Java file. So from here our Java coding for our app is beginning, and let me manage the fragment, and for that I'm checking the saved instance state, and then I'll use get support fragment manager, and then begin the transaction and replace the current inflator with the fragment container. Yeah, it is container, the ID for that frame layout, and then I will give the fragment name was translate fragment and making the new instance for it. After that just commit it here, commit now, and the work for this main activity is finished. But here you are seeing that one error. Don't worry about this error. I will be implementing this method within this translate fragment. Don't you worry about it. The work for this main activity is completed. Now we have to make out one more class for the view model of that translate fragment. So now we are in the translate fragment. You can see that there are so much commands and to do kind of thing is added. Okay, we will be editing this, making it as per our choice. don't you worry about it. So for now, you have to create a Viewmodel class. Right click on that Java and then make sure you have clicked on Java class, and I'm giving the class name as Translate Viewmodel. Press enter. Now you have to code for this Translate Viewmodel by extending it with Android View model. Okay. Now in this Translate Viewmodel class, we are going to make a flag variable that is named as num translators, and its default value is given as 3. After that, we have to make remote model manager, as we have to download various language models from the internet. So for that thing you need this remote model. After that, you have to introduce LRU cache for your translator, and as you already know that, and if you don't know about the LRU cache, then LRU cache is a file storage kind of thing that is used in Android, and it follows queue data structure. So make it as translators, and let me full size it. Okay. After that, you have to make the object of it LRU cache, and then you have to give the template value as the translator options and translator, as there will be translating options, and for that we are using that flag variable num underscore translators. And within this, what we are going to get the cache values, the cache text. So we have to implement such methods within this LRU cache, and here I am implementing that the create method, translator creator, and in this I'm returning translation.getClient from the options, key. Yeah, here you can see that. After that, one more method is needed for this LRU cache, and that method will also be implemented. It is entry removed, like it will work on the old and the new values of the cache. So if it is old values, then the cache queue will be closed. So finally the LRU cache is implemented. After that, you have to work on mutable live data. Yeah, as we are working on the translator kind of thing, and we have to translate it in real time. Like if I typed hi, then it will automatically translate at the runtime or at the typing time to Hindi in as namaste. So you have to write this as like this. Yes, for source language it is different, and for the target language you have to write another mutable live data, as you have to manage both things. Okay, so it will be as target lang. Yeah, so these two mutable live datas, and the one is again, and it is for a different, like it will take the string, and what it is actually the source text. And for the mediator live data, we are taking as it will come from the results or error. I will implement this later. Result or error is a kind of a function, don't worry about it. Okay, sorry, it is a static class the result or error. It's not a function, it's a class, because it came in that template value. Okay, so for now you have to implement its methods like mutable type data. For let me check, there's something missing. Where it is? Mutable type data. It is a kind of get the list of strings. Okay, if there are some sentence or more sentence to translate, then okay, we are checking for the available models, like what models we have for the translation. Like for English language there is a model English model, for Hindi there is a model Hindi model, for Spanish there's another model Spanish model. So it will work on that available models as we are downloading them, and we have also the option for deleting them. But to include in our translator, first you have to download them from the internet. We have provided the button for the download, and now you have to create a constructor for translate view model, and it will take the annotation as not null. Okay, and it will take application as the parameter. So done. So you can see that I'm within the constructor, and in this constructor I have to make a super call for the application context. Yeah, and then I will work on the model manager, remote model manager dot get instance, and getting the instance of remote model manager. After that you have to make on complete listener for it, and it will take as the template as string, and then it will be named as process translation. It will process the translation. After it will show result on completion of the translation. So what will it take? We'll check for the if conditions, if task is successful, if it is already done, then we will use the translated text as set value to the result or error. We'll check for it using that static class that I'm going to implement and pass the result into it. Okay, so and null you have to pass out to the set value, and in the else case you have to write the else case. If task was not successful, then you have to set value for the result or error and pass null also task and get exception. You will be getting exception instead of translation result. So now you have to call fetch download here, as you have to fetch the model. So you have to write the function for it. I'll implementing this function later. Fetch downloaded models. So this part is okay, and there is lots of space, but in this I have to make for the translated add resource, and we'll add the resource as source text and using the same observer string. And on change you have to change this string to language, translate language dot language. Also now you have to call the translated it's translate function actually. I was forgetting the name of that function. Don't you worry about it. And you have to add on complete listener here and pass this process translation, the whole thing. And now this is almost done. So now you have to add a static class result or error that we have used previously in the above code. So now it's the time to implement that class. Write static class result or error, and it will take two variables and make them final and nullable. The first one is the string that will having the name as result of the variable, and the second one is also final nullable, and it is an exception actually. So let me take as exception, and it is named as error. Okay, after that you have to make a constructor for this, and within the constructor you have to pass these two variables, and you just have to initialize them, and it is exception error. Yes, and within the constructor you have to just initialize them. This dot result is equals to result, and this dot except error is equals to error. Okay, so this is complete. Come out of this result or error static class and make another static class that is named as a language, I think. Okay, let's think what will be the name. Yeah, it should be language. Make it language, and it should implement the comparable and take the language from the library. After that you have to make a string variable code, and it should be private. After that go for the constructor, and in the constructor function you have to just initialize this code. Okay, so this thing is okay. Now you have to write few more functions, and it may be some may be override or some may be normal. So this is get display name, and you just have to return the display name from the local and call this function again, get display name. Okay, after that you have to get code implementation. You have to give the implementation of get code, and then return code only. That is the variable of this static class, and then you have to make a boolean function called equals, as you have to override some function. It may be same to that, and we will check customizedly. That's why we are overriding these functions. Okay, if O is equals to this, then returns true. That means the object is the object that is coming in the parameter should be equals to the object of this context, and if it is, then return true. Else you have to check if O is the instance of a language, then return false. Okay, now you have to make other language, and it is a kind of return other language. Yeah, okay, and then code dot equals code finish. So this is equal function is completed. After that you have to make another function, and that function name is toString. It is also present in the library, but we are using the custom functions. That's why we are overriding these functions, and we are doing it for our purpose. Our purpose should be done. and get display name. Okay, and then one more function of type that hash code, and within this you have to return code dot hash code. Okay, so one more function. And what kind of function? First of all, override this, and its name is compare to, and it will be having the non-null parameter of type language, and you just have to return this dot get display name dot compare to dot o dot get display name. Okay, it is also done. One more function is needed, but it is for clearing things. Protected on void on cleared and super dot on cleared. Just calling this again, and yeah, there's an error. Okay, but make this first of all translators dot evict all. Okay, for clearance this is a function, but I think we have write it at a wrong place, so I just have to cut it, the whole function, cut it and paste it outside this curly brace. That means this is the part of the translate view model, not that language static class. So here you can see that there are no errors, everything is okay. This function is complete the static classes. There are 2 static classes and they are almost completed, but few things are left out. We will complete them too. You can see that this fetch downloaded model function, it is also not yet implemented. We have to implement this function too, called fetch downloaded models. So you have to just come back to the place before the static class result or error. After that, make this function fetch downloaded models, and it will use the model manager. As I have already told you that model manager will be used for downloading and deletion purpose. So you have to, in this function, you have to add the add-on success listener. If it is downloaded, the model is already downloaded, then within the add-on success you have to get that on success function, and within this there will be a list of template string, and it will be named as model codes. And for the array list, the translate remote model size will be given as the array list parameter size. Yeah, after that you have to make a for each loop for that models that are present in translate remote models, and check their codes. Sorry, you are not checking, you are adding that into this array list. As you have downloaded the models, then add them into it. After that you have to sort them alphabetically, pass the model codes, and we are using collections method sort for it. After that you have to set the value for the available models as model codes, and this function is also completed. Now you have to add 2 or more functions for deletion purpose is left out, which is also a crucial part for the application. So let me go to the place where it should be. Yeah, just above this function. First of all, let me remove this extra space, and here I am writing that function called task, and this is the main function. Actually, the whole purpose of this app is particularly depend on this task function, translate function. Task is the return type, so this translate function is really important. First of all, you have to get that source text that you will be writing for translation, and we will be performing operation on that source text and converting into it the targeting text, that is the favorable language that you want to translate your text. Okay, so let me add two variables for it. Okay, it is added, source and target. Now we'll be checking out if source is empty or target is equals to null, and again if text is null and text dot is empty. We are checking for these four conditions using OR gate. After that, you have to return task dot for result, and if it was null, then return nothing. There will be nothing for the conversion. And after that, you have to make a string variable called source line code, and for it you have to add translate language from language and source dot get code. Okay, so it is completed. Forgetting the language tag, that the source language is this, it will detect that language, or you have to choose the customized or manually thing. Yeah, and same for the target language too, but here you have to pass target dot get code. And now you have to work on the translator options, and for the translator options you have to make an object for it and build the object for translate options. And first of all, you have to set out the language of the source that you have to done from that source line code, the previous variable, and same for the target. And after that, call that build function. Now you have to return translated or translators dot get and pass the options into its parameters. After that, you will be checking for the download mode. If needed, then you have to continue with the task, and within this you have to make continuation, and it is already having a function called then, and then check for the task. If the task is successful, then translators return the translator dot get options, and then translate the text. If the model was not downloaded, then it will download the model, then start working on that model. After that, you have to give the exception value, and it will be taken out from the task.get exception. Now you have to check if the exception was null, that is equals to null, then equals to new exception, and get application context type of thing. Also, you have to get into string as r dot. I have not make out another variable for it, so I will be using a fake kind of warning for it. That is, use this Google Play warning for unknown issues. That is absolutely okay. Or you have to create your own warning in
string file. Okay, now you have to return the task.for exception. Make sure that you have handled these curly braces very carefully and remove this extra space. Also, there is something missing, like semicolon is missing. Yes. So now this function translate of type task is completed, and now you have to make another function. As first of all we are completing the function, then we'll go to the view model. Okay, so what's next? It is just above that translate function, and it is also a function. So let me think for a little that what. Okay, it should be of list and taking the template as language for getting available models or getting available languages. After that, within this
list of template languages, and it should be of type array list. Okay, after that you have to create language ID, and in this get available language function you just have to add the IDs to the languages. There's a kind of mapping between language IDs and languages that are available. So let me go for each loop for language IDs in language IDs. After that I just have to add these within this array list. So I'll just use that add function of array list, and I'll add the object of language, and then I'll pass the translate language and get the language ID from language tag, and perfect. Okay, then I have to add semicolon. Okay, now I have to return this list. I have to return the languages, so I have to add a return statement here, that is return languages, and it is the end of the function. Okay, this function is completed. After that I have to create one more function, and this function is for downloading language models. As we are using translator models that are present on the internet, so we have to download them in our app, and after that we will be using them. So for that we are using translator models. From that we are going to download them with the help of this remote model, and then we are using a get model function. Get model function is a customized function that I have to write afterwards, and pass language.getCode. Okay, then we have to use the model manager, then download this model and pass the download condition, and I'm just going to build it dot build. Perfect. After that I have to add add-on success listener. If the model is downloaded successfully, then the code of success listener will run, and within this I'm adding the on complete listener, and template is void for it. And after that I'm writing a function for it, and it should be overridden, that is on complete, and it takes the parameters as non-null,
that is task, as we have already created that task function, and then we fetch the downloaded models. If it is downloaded successfully, then we are going to fetch that downloaded model from our internal storage of our device. Okay, so this function is also complete. Now we have to make another function. As I've already told you that we'll be needing download function and delete function. So this is for that delete language, and the parameter is language, because there will be a button in the app by which you can delete the language model. So we are going to use the same translate remote model, and in which we are going to pass translate language and language dot get code to get that model. Get model is a function that I'm going to implement by the next of this function, and then using model manager we'll delete the downloaded model. And this is same as we have to add on complete listener. If the model is deleted successfully, then this will run. Okay, then it will have to refresh that internal storage and fetch the remaining models. Okay, so this function is also completed. Now let me check out what we need next. Okay, so it is completed, yes, and curly braces are also matching. Okay, so now we are in the part of get translate view model constructor, and within this we have to add observer for the language, like the translators. As you already know, if you type anything, then it will automatically detect that particular language, that in which language you have entered the text, and on the basis of that they will go for the target translation language as per your choice. Okay, so for the observer you have to add that onChained function. It is inbuilt, and then you have to just add that add source text, that is source lang, and then observe that source language. After that, just copy it and paste it, and then change it to that target language. Okay, perfect. It is completed. Something is left out, yes, that is fetch downloaded models. You have to fetch your downloaded models after observing the type of language or the which language is typed there. Okay, now you have to implement this get model function. So let me implement this get model function. It will return the translate remote model, and name is already that get model, and passing the string as the parameter as the language code, and then we'll be returning the translate remote model, and just we are going to build it by language code. So just build it. Okay, so it will help in getting that model to building it. So almost the work is for this class is completed. Yes, there are some errors, but when you are going to clean project or rebuild your project, then you will see that there will be no error. Then I have just removed that extra spaces present in. So let me check out if I have implemented all the functions. Yes, I have. So now let's move to that fragment, translate fragment. It is left out. We have implemented that translate view model yet. So I have to remove this, all these unnecessary things. I have to remove it, like what I don't need here, I'll remove them and make this fragment customized. So just delete this part too. Okay, and that parameters part is also deleted. Here, let me full size the screen and remove this commands too. It's annoying. Yeah, so now you have to work on this translate fragment. Also remove these parameters. Okay, let me check whether I have mistakenly removed anything which is necessary, but it is not yet. Yeah, let me add something here. Then this on create, like set has option menu as false. It doesn't have the option menu, so I passed the parameter as false. And now there's the parameter change within this on create view function, but you have to add a suppress lint and pass the parameter was the string as clickable view accessibility. Yeah, okay, as there will be buttons and you have to get that clickable view accessibility for this on create view. And now you have to change the parameters. You have to add non-null for the view, and then there will be some deletion of this parameter, like these two parameters are not needed, and the bundle is made as non-null. Okay, so it is also good, and I have to remove this return statement also. And let me make super function call for it for on view created and pass the view, also the saved instance state. And then I will just map the buttons and all that views of XML to this Java file. That is, I'm just mapping between the XML and Java. So let me first go to the button named switch button, and its ID is given as button switch lang in the XML file of translate fragment, that is fragment underscore translate.xml. And let me do the same for the toggle button, and it is named as source sync button. Also I have to find it by using view, as it is not an activity, so you have to use this view to get that function find view by ID. We are working on a fragment right now. And the another toggle button, that is target sync button, do the same for it, r.id button sync target, add that semicolon at the end. And then you have to add text input, add a text in which you have to add the text to translate to your choice of translation language. There will be a choice of languages in which you can translate your input text, and this input added text will help you to enter that text within the box. After that you have to make a text view, as there were two text views, first for the source, then for the target. So let me create for the second one, that is target. Okay, then view.find.view by id, and then r.id dot what it was. Let me check for it. It is a target text. Yes. Okay, I think there is something messy. Let me check it out. Wait for. Okay, let me create another text view. Yeah, the source text view is for the input text added box, and this for downloaded text model text view. as it will show that which model are you currently working on. So it is find view by id r.downloaded models. After that you have to add the spinner, as we have added the spinner to select the languages. There will be plenty of languages from which you can translate or add as input languages, and the spinners for that. Okay, so r.id.target language selector. Then again there will be a spinner for source language selector. You have to select the source language also if you want to, that this is my source language and I want to translate it to that particular target language. So these two spinners are for that. After that you have to create that translate view model called Viewmodel, and then using that Viewmodel providers, it is depreciated, but don't you worry, it will work pretty fine, and passes this as the context for this fragment. And then you have to get that translate Viewmodel.class, and again you have to create a array adapter in which you have template that type of translate view model, and it is of a type of language translate view model. Then you'll pass the adapter here. After that you'll make it from that new array adapter and get that context for it. And beside context you have to also add android.id.layout, the layout for that fragment, and it is simple selectable spinner drop down. That is for the fragment in which you have added this spinner drop down items, and then you will have that Viewmodel.get available languages, that how many languages available there, it will shown up, and you have to select that particular one. So you are adding that adapter for the source and the target respectively, and passing the adapter for it. After that you have to set the selected, if you have selected any particular language, then you have to work on it. So adapter.get position of that, and then you have to pass that translate Viewmodel.language, and I am default selecting the language as English. Okay, the source language is default selected as English. You can change it while we are going to use as our app. We'll change it, or you can change it within this language code, but I know two codes only, that is English and it is, I think, Spanish. Okay, now you have to add set on item click listener for it, and you have to create on item click that you have to implement. It is by default available, and then you have to make a function called set progress. It is also a customized function that I'm going to implement by next. Don't worry about the error. And then you will pass out this target text view, and then using that view model and getting that source language, you will set up the value according to the adapter as per your choice of the language. Okay, let me remove this extra space here, and then besides this on item click function, if it has nothing to do with it, then I have to create public void on nothing selected. Like if nothing is selected, then you have to pass out this parameter of parent. open this function, and within this function you have to make out this target text view as set text and pass out nothing. It will show no result, as if no language or nothing is selected yet. Then you have to get that dot set text. Yeah, okay, it is also completed right now. Okay, so this function is completed. Now let me scroll a little, and here I have to add set on item click listener for target language selector, the previous one for the source language selector, and now it's for target language selector. And we are going to do the same for the target language selector too, because there are similarities as they are working on the spinners. So you just have to make few changes, like you have to add target length instead of that, and just copy this function or nothing is selected if. Okay, perfectly fine. Now you have to add another things, like there are things left out. Let me make them. Also, if that switch button, that if you want to switch between the target language and source language, that's mean if you want to make target language as the source language, then you can use that switch button. Okay, we are using as this set progress text. Don't you worry about this function. I'm going to just implement this function at the last. Okay, so in this, on click source lang position, get that item position, and source lang selector dot set selected dot selection, set selection, and target lang selector dot get selected item position. You just have to interchange between this source language and target language. So do the same for this target language and pass the parameters for the source lang position. Okay, so this function is also completed the set on click listener for that switch. Now you have to add source sync button for checking on checked change listener, as it is going to work in real time. So you have to sync between it. Okay, we are just doing the same. Mostly it is same, as we are getting that adapter from that translate Viewmodel and selecting the particular language as we have entered in that spinner. And now here we have to get that position, that language, and we are going to check if is checked. I think a little same kind of thing. If B, yeah, as the parameter is boolean B in the on checked change, so we have to use this B, and then we'll download that particular language using that Viewmodel. And if it is already there, then we just have to delete that language. Okay, so for now you have to add the same for the target sync button and do the same for it. Almost everything is same, but parameter names and the particular target sync button is changed. So do it, passing as B, and then we'll go for the same for download language and pass the language within it. And if it is not, then we'll just go for the deletion dot delete, pass the language here. Yeah, So it is also completed right now. And now you have to add another dot source text view dot add text change. The result will be shown in that text view, so you have to change that text view on runtime, as there are 3 inbuilt functions. You have to work on it. And what are these functions? This will be, and now you have to leave empty the previous 2 functions and only change this after text change function, and add that set progress text, and then view model, and it will take source text, then post value within it to string. Okay, then you have to implement another view model translated text dot observe, and then you have to get view life cycle owner. Okay, and then again the observer result on, and then in this on change you have to check out for this result or error, and result dot error is not equals to null. If it is not equals to null, that means it contains some value. Then change it to source text view to set error. And what kind of error you will set out here? It is of type get localized message from this error. And within this else part, you will go for the target text view and set text. After that, you have to add set result or error dot result only. Okay, so this is also completed right now. And besides this, you have to go for another view model. Sorry, it is, I think I have already made that view model, no? Yeah, but I have to make for another like available models. You have to observe that available models too, and for their life cycle owner you have to do the same work, but for a different context you are doing it. And in this on change you have to go for the output and get context. As we are working in the fragment, it's not the activity, so we have to use this get context or get application context functions to get the context of this fragment. Then we'll pass out this r.string.downloaded model. Don't worry, I have to just implement or override this downloaded model labels in that string.xml. I'll be doing it. Okay, and then I have to pass out translate remote models. Okay, it is showing error, but don't you worry about it. But there's a change in the parameter, as I've wrongly right there. I've changed the parameter of this function to translate remote models. Do the same, and then just set text for this downloaded models at the output. Like it will be showing that what available models it is, and then source sync button dot set checked. After that, adapter will be working on it. Get that item for source length selector dot get selected item position, and then afterwards you have to get the code for that particular language. Okay, and then do for the target sync button, as we have did it for that source sync button. We have to do the same for the target sync button also. We have to give that adapter get item, then target length selector dot get selected item position dot get code. Okay, So this function is completed right now. After that, you have to implement that very needy function. I think I have to come out of this on create view. Yeah, as we are going to create now customized function, so we'll be creating it within this translate fragment, and it is yes set progress text that we have used it in various item click listeners, and it will take the text view only, and we just have to set out this text view from the set text and get context and get string of tb, and then we are going to just r dot string dot translate then progress. Don't worry, we are going to implement this download and translate progress within this string that is present in the resources, and we'll go for it in the resources, and in values you have to go out. In the resource part there is a folder of named like values, and select the string part, that is the third one. To select it, and you just have to add that values that you have used in that fragment. So here I'm going to add them. It is same in format. You just have to add the tag for the string, then it will automatically take as the name it is required, and the name is translate progress translated text. No, it is, I have to check it because I forgot. Let me check it within this fragment. It is translate progress. Then I will be entering it here, but first I'm going for the downloaded model label, and here I'll add that downloaded model, and there's a value coming out from it, and it is %1 of $s. Yeah, it will set out that string value besides this $s string. Okay, then translate progress, I have to do it, make it here, and I'll give the value as translating ... as it is showing it is in progress. Okay, so now we'll come back to this fragment, and you will be seeing that okay, still that error. Why this error is caused here? Okay, I have not made out it models, so let me remove this as. Yeah, perfectly fine. Now there's also error, but when we are going to building the project, clean project, first of all it will show out. Okay, I'll go for this rebuild. Now it will show the error. What problem is causing that error? Let me check out, but the Gradle is building, as you know. Okay, so we found out that error. We missed that semicolon within this target sync button in the line 171. So I've just add it and rebuild again, as you are seeing that there are no errors right now. Okay, and then I'll go for the manifest and then main activity, and I'll just run my app, as the errors are removed by rebuilding the project and cleaning the code. Okay, and then it is installing. It is installed. Now you will be able to see the screen. Yeah, and here it is. Now you have to add the text, and the default language is English EN and translated in Spanish, but we have to change it, as I will change it to Hindi. As you can see, there are plenty of languages available there. You can translate them, but for that you have to download that model. Okay, it is Hindi, and then I click on download model. and now you can see that it translated to hello.